He blocks her from her own mother's funeral, claims she doesn't belong, yet the moment a video plays, he panics if he's in control, while we act like something wasn't supposed to surface.
"You're not coming in," Marcus said flatly, one hand braced against the chapel door like he owned the place, and everyone inside it. I stopped a few feet from him, fingers tightening around my phone, trying to keep my voice steady. Every eye in the hallway was on us, but no one stepped in. No one questioned him. It was our mom's funeral. My own brother was blocking me from saying goodbye. "She wouldn't want you here," he added, quieter this time, but somehow worse, like it was already decided, already agreed upon by everyone else. A few relatives avoided looking at me, others just watched, waiting to see if I'd argue or leave. And for a second, it almost worked. The pressure. The way he said it, like I'd already done something unforgivable. But then I noticed something small. Marcus wasn't just angry. He was tense, watching my hands, watching my phone, like he was afraid of what I might do next. And that didn't make any sense, unless he knew something I didn't. He always did this. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He controlled things quietly, decisions, conversations, access. Even now at our mom's funeral, he stood there like the final authority, and everyone else just adjusted. I could hear the service starting inside. The soft hum of the organ, the low murmur of people settling into their seats, was already happening. Without me. "I'm not here to cause anything," I said, keeping my voice low, aware of how easily this could turn into exactly what he was accusing me of. "I just want to sit in the back." Marcus shook his head immediately, like he'd already rehearsed this moment. "No. You've done enough. That again. Not you're late, not we're full, not even we'll talk later. You've done enough." It landed like there was a story already circulating, one I hadn't been told, but everyone else had quietly accepted. I glanced past him through the narrow gap in the door. I caught a glimpse of the front, white flowers, the edge of the casket, a framed photo of Mom smiling in that same composed way Marcus had now. Controlled, presentable. This didn't feel like goodbye. It felt managed. "Done enough of what?" I asked. For a second, Marcus didn't answer. His jaw tightened, and he looked past me toward the relatives standing nearby. Watching. Waiting. He lowered his voice. "Don't do this here!" Which meant he didn't want whatever this was to be heard out loud. That was the first real crack. Because if I'd actually done something that justified this, he wouldn't be worried about people hearing it. My phone shifted slightly in my hand, and his eyes snapped back to it instantly. Not to me, to the phone. That same tension flickered again, subtle but sharp, like he was tracking something specific, not just reacting to me being here. I followed his gaze down for half a second, then back up to him. "You don't get to decide this," I said quietly. "I already did," he replied, just as calm, but faster this time. Inside, the music stopped. Not faded out, stopped. Both of us froze for a fraction of a second. That wasn't part of a funeral flow. Marcus frowned, just slightly, his focus breaking for the first time since I got here. What? Then a soft crackle came through the chapel speakers, a microphone adjusting, and then a voice. Familiar, clear, our mother's voice. Marcus's expression changed instantly. Not confusion, recognition, followed by something much sharper. "No," he muttered under his breath. I didn't move. Because I already knew what was about to happen. And for the first time since I arrived, Marcus wasn't in control of what came next. If you're hearing this, then I wasn't able to say everything in person. The voice carried clearly through the chapel now, steady, unmistakable. Conversations inside dropped into silence almost instantly. Marcus didn't move at first. He just stood there, like his body hadn't caught up to what was happening. I watched him, not the door, because I'd seen that look before. Not grief, not shock, calculation. A few days earlier in the hospital, he'd been the same way, always one step ahead of every conversation. He handled the doctors, answered questions before Mom could, decided when visits ended. She needs rest, he'd told me more than once, guiding me out before I could even finish a sentence. At the time, it felt like control disguised as care. Now, standing outside that chapel, hearing her voice echo through a speaker system he didn't expect, it felt different. Inside, the recording continued. I want things to be clear. Marcus finally snapped into motion, pushing the door open just enough to look inside. I caught a glimpse over his shoulder, people turning in their seats, confused, searching for where the voice was coming from. This wasn't part of the service. He turned back to me, voice low and tight. You need to stop this. I tilted my head slightly. Stop what? For a second, he didn't answer. Because whatever was playing, he hadn't planned for it. And that meant one thing: there were parts of this story Marcus never told anyone. Turn it off, Marcus said under his breath, but he was already moving. He shoved the chapel door open fully this time, stepping inside with urgency that didn't match the calm image he'd been holding all morning. The voice filled the room now, no longer distant or muffled. I've made decisions that may surprise some of you. I followed a few steps behind, stopping near the back. Heads turned immediately. Some people recognized me, others just recognized tension. Either way, I could feel it, judgment already in place, shaped by whatever Marcus had been saying before I got here. At the front, he reached the podium and started pressing buttons on the audio system, his movements quick, controlled, but just a little too forceful. Nothing happened. The recording continued. I sent it yesterday, I said, just loud enough to carry. Marcus froze.
He was handling everything calmly. So why does hearing she sent that video yesterday makes him freeze? Like he already knows what's coming.
Not completely, but enough. He turned his head slightly, eyes locking onto me across the room. That was the moment it clicked for everyone else, too. This wasn't accidental. Because I need to make sure everything is handled fairly, Mom's voice continued. A subtle shift moved through the room. Fairly. It was a small word, but it didn't belong in a normal funeral message. Marcus straightened, trying to recover. This isn't appropriate, he said louder now, addressing the room instead of me. But no one responded. Because the recording hadn't stopped. And with every second, it was becoming harder to pretend this was just grief talking. Marcus has been helping me manage things. For a split second, Marcus latched onto that line. You could see it. His shoulders easing, his posture resetting, like the narrative had just tilted back in his favor. A few people nodded subtly. Sounded normal, responsible, expected. But the sentence didn't end there. But there are things he doesn't know I've discovered. The shift was immediate. Not loud, not dramatic, just stillness. Marcus's jaw tightened again, faster this time. This recording is being taken out of context, he said, stepping away from the podium and turning toward the audience, trying to reclaim control through volume. She wasn't. It was recorded 2 days before she passed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. But it cut through his. Clean. Precise. People turned, this time not just to him, but to me. That hadn't happened before. Up until now, I'd been background. Excluded. Questioned, without being asked. Now I was part of the equation. On the screen beside the podium, the video finally flickered on. Someone must have synced it mid-playback. Mom appeared in her hospital bed, pale but alert, eyes focused straight ahead. Documents I found, she continued, changes made without my knowledge. A murmur spread, quieter but sharper. Marcus took a step back. Not strategic. Instinctive. Accounts accessed, signatures that don't match mine. He shook his head, but there was no rhythm to it now. No control. Because this wasn't slipping anymore. It was breaking, and whatever came next wasn't something he could talk his way out of. I had the hospital bring in a legal witness, Mom's voice said, steady, unmistakably clear. Everything I'm about to say has been documented. That word, documented, landed harder than anything else. This wasn't confusion. It wasn't memory slipping. It was recorded. Verified. Marcus let out a sharp breath, shaking his head as he stepped forward again. This is being twisted. She didn't. Funds have been moved from my accounts over the past 6 months, the video continued, cutting straight through him. The room shifted. Not physically, but in attention. People leaned forward, listening differently now. I did not authorize those transfers. Marcus's voice rose for the first time. That's not true. But it didn't carry the same weight anymore, because the video didn't pause. I confronted Marcus, Mom said. He denied it. A quiet ripple spread through the seats, subtle, but unmistakable. This wasn't just tension anymore, it was alignment. Pieces clicking together in real time. So I asked the bank to investigate, she continued. They confirmed the activity came from devices linked to him. That was it. Not an accusation. A confirmation. Marcus lunged for the podium again, more forceful this time, but someone stepped in, our uncle, placing a firm hand on his arm. Not aggressive, just enough. Enough to stop him. And for the first time in that room, Marcus didn't move forward. He stopped. I've updated my will, Mom's voice said. Everything will be handled by an independent executor. Another shift. Clear. Final. Not Marcus. Silence followed. Not confusion this time. Understanding. The version of events Marcus had built. The one where I was the problem. The one that justified me being kept out. Collapsed under the weight of something he couldn't control. Proof. I exhaled slowly, my grip on my phone finally loosening. I hadn't argued at the door. I hadn't tried to force my way in, because I didn't need to fight him where he had control. He controlled the room, but I controlled what the room would hear. As the video ended, no one spoke. They didn't need to. The shift was already complete. Eyes turned to Marcus, but not with trust anymore. With distance, with questions. And no one blocked my path. I walked forward down the aisle he tried to keep me out of, past the people who had stayed silent earlier. This time, they moved out of the way. No hesitation. No resistance. I stopped beside the casket, looking down at Mom one last time. And behind me, Marcus wasn't shouting orders anymore. He wasn't controlling anything. He was standing still. Because the moment that video played, everything he built started unraveling. And there was nothing left for him to stop.
Situations like this don't usually unravel in public like that. So how many stay controlled, managed, and unquestioned just because no one ever presses play at the right time?